Welcome readers and readers welcome. I'm Stella with Books Are Friends, and today we have my October TBR. October was a great month to buy books. There were so many that I found that were with great sales and just good prices, and I bought so many books. I don't know what possessed me to buy as many books as I did, but I bought them. And that's the thing that happened. So there are quite a lot, 15 or 16 books, so let's just get right to this. First we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre I read for the first time the summer before 7th grade, and then Jane, and I've only read this once before 7th grade, so I don't remember exactly the details or what happens, but Jane is sent to live with either like an aunt or a family friend or something after her parents die, and the woman that ends up taking care of her is very cruel and mean, and she has 2 kids of her own, so she spoils her kids but then treats Jane pretty much like an urchin. Eventually she sends Jane to a boarding school or a finishing school, I'm not quite sure which, and that school is very strict, but Jane pretty much grows up there, and then she becomes a teacher there, and then eventually she moves out to become a governess, and she ends up in this big manor home to working for Mr. Rochester. And during this time she falls in love with Mr. Rochester, and she learns a few dark secrets about his past, and it threatens to ruin everything she's built for her life, and it's just a really good story. I read through it quickly. I saw this copy and it looked absolutely beautiful. Next we have The Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams Chima, and this is also a book I read when I was really young. Early junior high, I believe I picked this book up. I remember really loving the story and flying through the book really quickly, but I don't remember what the book is about or what it contained or what exactly I did love about it. But it's about a boy named Jack, and he's just your average school student. He has to take medicine for a scar over his heart or a heart condition, I don't quite remember. And after he stops taking his meds, he gains all this strength and these abilities, and then he learns he's a part of the secret society, and within the society they have these tournaments for things, life and death situations, and there's good and there's evil, and there's competition, and it's just up to Jack to figure it all out and win for the side of good. And I really do love these. These have this has a sequel or several sequels to it. I'm not sure. I never did get a chance to finish this series. I hope I get a chance to reread through it because I would just love to see exactly what it is I loved about this story, and hopefully if I'm still enjoying it all these years later, I hope to pick up the series again. Next we have Love Letters to the Dead by Ava DeLaria, and I'm so excited I have this book. I saw this book a long time ago and I really wanted to buy it. It sounds so intriguing. The title alone really had me wanting to read this story, and as I found out more about it, I was more intrigued and more set to have this book and read it. And for some reason I just kept putting off buying it and putting off buying it, and then finally a few weeks ago I was in the bookstore and I saw it and I picked it up and was just kind of looking at it and thinking, oh, I would love to buy you, but I don't know. And so I put it back on the shelf, and as soon as I did that, this girl came up behind me and she was like, oh, I read that book, I loved it, it was amazing, it was so good, it gave me so many feels. And of course I'm paraphrasing here, but I was like, really? It's a book I've been wanting to read for a long time, I just, I don't know. She's like, no, it's so good. So I was like, okay, and I bought it, and it's mine, and I can't wait to read this story. I'm still trying to read through the Lux series, and then after the Lux series, I need to finish the Pendragon series that I've been rereading pretty much all year. I tend to read standalones between series, so I'll read, depending on how long the series are, I'll read 2 or 3 different series of books, and then I'd go and read 3 or 4 standalones just to kind of keep a balance, because I do have a lot of standalones in addition to all the books that I own that are series based. So you can get a clear picture of what this book is about, I'll just read it to you. It begins as an assignment for English class. Write a letter to a dead person. Laurel chooses Kurt Cobain because her sister May loved him, and he died young, just like May. Soon Laurel has a notebook full of letters to the dead to people like Janis Joplin, Heath Ledger, Amelia Earhart, and Amy Winehouse. Though she never gives a single one of them to her teacher. She writes about starting high school, navigating the choppy waters of new friendships, learning to live with her splintering family, falling in love for the first time, and most important, trying to grieve for May. But how do you mourn for someone you haven't forgiven? It's not until Laurel has written the truth about what happened to herself that she can finally accept what happened to May. And only when Laurel has begun to see her sister as the person she was, lovely and amazing and deeply flawed, she can truly start to discover her own path. And I just think that's amazing. Like, books like this have been done over and over and over again, where there's sisters or siblings and one is hurt by the other one's hand, or one dies by the other one's hands, or one dies suddenly. The other sibling is always left to wonder how to pick up the pieces of their own lives and continue and figure out all the new things that are yet to come. But I've never seen it done this way, where the sibling that is left is literally writing love letters to the dead to try to figure this all out, to just have some sort of outlet to people who understand what she is going through and what her sister went through. And it's just absolutely a beautiful concept, and I can't wait to read this book. Next, we have The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This book I picked up, I think, earlier this year. It was either late last year or early 2015, and I flew through it. I read it. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to do anything, and I was grouchy when I wasn't reading it. I just wanted to read this book after I had started it because it was just gripping, like pulls you in quickly, and it keeps you guessing, and it keeps you wondering, and it keeps you like on the edge of, should I agree or shouldn't I agree with what the characters are saying and doing, and it's just on edge at all times, and it's absolutely amazing. It's about an alien invasion, and basically alien souls, or their essence, however you want to call it, were placed into pregnant women's the embryos, the fetuses of while they were still pregnant, and these aliens resided in that human, and they grew up normally and fine, but once the outside aliens activated them, they knew they were aliens, they knew pretty much their history, they knew the plan for their race, but yet they still had all their memories growing up as human, and they still know what it felt like to be human, but most of them didn't care. And it's literally about the aliens taking over. And the fifth wave is depicting a new part of their plan. Like, so far it was to plant the seeds, basically. Then it was to activate the aliens, and then so on and so forth. And the fifth wave follows a young girl and her struggle through what this exactly means for her and her family. And oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. This is actually getting a movie. I think it's going to be released next year. I'm not quite sure when the movie is going to debut, but it's getting a movie, and I'm so excited. I usually don't have a bar raised too high for books and movie adaptations, just because sometimes the movies are just so disappointing. But I have a feeling they are going to do really well with this, and I can't wait to see it. And I love movies in general anyway, so as long as they don't royally screw it up, it's going to be good, and it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to watch it. And if you haven't read this yet, you really should, especially before you see the movie, because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those stories that there's little things here and there that you're not going to understand and you're not going to pick up unless you've read the book. And you want to read this book. This book was so good. It kept me, it really is a page turner, like gripping, and I read it basically within a day. I have no idea what took me so long to buy this book. I picked it up from my local library and I read it through it, and then I wish so much that I had actually just bought it instead of borrowing it, because I hate borrowing books. I know economically wise it's the best thing to do, but I hate borrowing books from a library, because I'm the type that even if I haven't read it, if it sounds good, I want to own that thing. And usually after I have read it, I definitely want to own it. So I picked it up from the library and I read it and was like, I want this book. And finally this month I bought it. It does have a sequel, The Infinite Sea. I haven't read that one yet, but I plan to, and I'm going to buy it straight away. I'm not getting it from the library first. It is not happening. The Fifth Wave, read it, love it, know it. Next we have Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. This is the first book in the quartet. I don't know if you call 4 books in a series a quartet. I should know this, but I don't, but that's what we're going to call it. I read this one pretty much within its first year of release, And I remember liking it, sort of. I remember thinking I liked it, something like that. I don't remember a lot about it, and because I think I liked it, I want to reread it and then continue the series, because it just seems like I hate having not fully read through a series, because in the back of my mind I'm like, I read that first book and I need to read the other ones, and it's just a thought that's always lingering in the back of my mind that I haven't finished that series, and I hate that feeling. So I have read this one. I want to give it a reread, and so I can continue through the rest of the series. And I think before I've showed you that I have bought book 3 and 4 in the series. I haven't bought Crescendo yet. This series I got off Book Outlet, and Book Outlet hasn't had Crescendo in hardcover, but as soon as they do, I'm getting it, I'm buying it, and then I'm going to read through it. This one is about a girl who is in high school, and she has never really noticed or paid attention or has been wholly attracted to a boy, and then she finally is, and it turns out he's an angel or a fallen angel or something weird, and she is intrigued by him and wants to know more, and then she finds out stuff about herself and her own past through him that she never even knew was a thing, and then all this stuff goes into chaos and things blow up, and it's just a crazy time for her and the guy. But yes, so I finally bought the first one, and I can read the first one. Hopefully Book Outlet will have Crescendo soon. Next we have Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Grisha trilogy. Before I have showed you that I have bought books 1 and books 3, Shadow and Bone and Ruin and Rising. I don't know what this book is about, as I have not read the first one yet, and I don't want to spoil myself for the series. But it is about basically this girl who, I think she's an orphan or something, I'm not quite sure, and she gets ripped from, she's like fighting this war that's going on in her world right now, and she's on one side of the war, and then she figures out she has these special abilities that only people called the Grisha have, and so she's drafted into this other section of society, and within the society they're basically fighting the war she already was, but now she's in a new a viewpoint of it, and it just sounds like a really good read. And now that I have this one, my series of the trilogy is complete, and I can finally get to reading it. But like I said before, I want to finish the Lux series, and then the Pendragon series, and then I'll pick up 3 or 4 standalones, and then hopefully get back to reading all of the series books that I own. There's a lot of them. I haven't read over half. What am I doing with my life? Also by Leigh Bardugo, we have 6 of Crows, and this book is set in the same world as the Grisha trilogy. This one is about a band of misfits or gang members or something who get picked and drafted to run this extreme, intense heist. And so you have all these different characters and personalities all in this group together trying to pull off this heist that's worth like thousands of dollars. And it just promises to be a quick, fun, amazing read, and I can't wait to read through it. I've heard a lot of different things about the Grisha trilogy and the writing style of the author, and how a lot of people had a hard time reading through them just because of the writing style. So then I've heard 6 of Crows, which was released after the Grisha trilogy, is an easier writing style. Like, the author changes things up a bit, and it's quite easy to read, and it's so much fun to read, and I can't wait to get to this book and through this book. You don't have to have read the Grisha trilogy before you start this one, so I may go into the Grisha world not knowing anything about it and start with this book when I'm reading through some of my standalones, but at the same time I might not. I might just wait until I can read the Grisha trilogy and then immediately pick this up right afterwards. For those of you who have read the Grisha trilogy or have read this book, please let me know which way would be a better reading experience for me. To read this as a standalone or to continue reading this straight after the Grisha trilogy, because it is a part of that world and there are some things I will learn from the Grisha trilogy about the world that will make more sense if I read this last. So if you just know about it, then please let me know. This is Before I Go by Colleen Oakley. I'm so excited I have this book. I've been wanting this book for so long. Like, this was an early 2015 release. I think it was actually a January 2015 release. And I remember seeing the debut about its release coming up soon, and I read it and I was like, oh, that sounds so good. I want to read that. And basically it's about this woman who has cancer, She's married, she's older, but she has cancer. And before she dies, she wants to basically find a replacement wife for her husband. And it's just her thought process is, I don't want to leave him alone. He has no domestic skills. He won't survive without me. She basically goes on this quest. She's interviewing these women and talking to these different women, trying to find her husband's next wife for him before she actually dies and succumbs to her cancer. And then towards the end, she's kind of having doubts about the whole process and why she thought this was a good idea. And she's just trying to figure out love and life even towards the end of hers. And it just sounded so good, and I can't wait to read it. I've never read anything by this author. I don't know why this thought of this book intrigued me so much. It just does. And I've been pretty much wanting it since the end of 2014 when I realized it was going to be a January 2015 release. And I finally bought it and I can finally read it. And I'm just so happy this is going to be one of the first ones I pick up when I get to reading some of my standalones. Next we have Hollow City, which is the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. The whole idea of this creepy house with these children in it and the weird things that goes on within it, it really intrigues me. There's also going to be a movie out for the first book soon. I don't know if that's going to be a 2016 or a 2017 movie. I'm going to want to go straight to the second one, so I bought it just in anticipation for my read. Next we have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. It's always weird trying to say her name. Rainbow Rowell. I don't know. But this one is a book that pretty much blew up overnight. People were so excited for it and loved it when they read it and was just absolutely went crazy over it. And it was always a book that I was intrigued by and wanting to read. And then my friend was like, you have to read it, you have to read it, you have to read it. I was like, I will, God, give me a chance. And I finally bought it this month and I'm going to read it, and it sounds so good. Like, it's about a reader and a fan fiction writer and all out nerd girl, and she just lives in her own world, in her own head, and then reality threatens to like pull her away from that, I guess. I'm not really sure. And then she's trying to balance both her reality and her fantasy worlds, and it just sounds so amazing. And for readers and writers and pretty much anybody fandom related, nerd wise, it is going to be so relatable, and I can't wait to read through this and finally be like, I've read Fangirl, yes, I am a part of that fandom. Next we have Interred with Their Bones by Jennifer Lee Carroll. This is about this guy gives this person a mysterious box, and before he can explain what it does or what it is or what it's for, the Globe Theater, which is where the Shakespearean plays are put on, burns down, and this person that received the box is left with all these questions and the mystery, and then people are after her because she has the box, and then she's just trying to figure out the whole thing out and figure out exactly how and why her friend died for this thing. And it just sounds really good, and I love stories like this with just that mystery element set in an actual place with fiction surrounding it at every point. And I can't wait to get to this one. This might be one of the first ones I pick up for one of my standalone reads. The Martian by Andy Weir, and this is a book that I have been wanting and seeing for several years. Literally several years. I've been wanting to get this book, and I just thought, now's probably not the right time to buy it. You know, I have plenty of time to buy it, plenty of time to read it, and I'll get to it when I get to it. And then the movie came out, so I was like, should have listened to me earlier. Why do I never listen to me? God. But I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen any of the trailers for the movie. I've been staying clear of anything online having to deal with this book for one reason only, and that's because I want to read this. I can't wait to read this. It sounds so amazing. These are stories that I love. It's about the first team on Mars. This guy was thought dead, so his team left him there, and so he's just trying to survive in this unknown, harsh environment. And of course you have all these things that threaten to kill him, and his overcome of those things, and how he plans to escape from Mars or get a hold of NASA or whatever. And it's all written and read through captain's logs, which are basically just diary entries. I saw this book on the shelf and I couldn't pass it up. The cover alone caught my eye, and then the Rose Labyrinth. And when I picked it up, I noticed this wasn't an ordinary book. It kind of looks like it's in a box, but it's not fully. Like, it has this this elastic thingy to keep it closed. And then in the inside, you got this thing going on. So on this side is this little booklet here. And it's just a booklet, and it has like weird drawings and maps and sayings and things in it. And I found this book and I was like, what is this? Like, what is going on with this thing? And I didn't know what to do or what to think of it. And I was looking at it more, like the whole style and idea of how it was set up intrigued me. So, of course, I kept looking at it. And then I noticed on, like, that was that. On this other side here, on the back of the actual book, it says, a single sheet of parchment and a silver key, a secret passed down through generations, a mystery waiting to be unlocked, the Rose Labyrinth. And I thought, whoa. You can actually pull out, well, I say you can actually pull out this book, and this is just the cover that it was in. And I think they call this like a library binding, where the hardcover doesn't have a dust jacket. The actual design, the art cover is the actual hardness of it, and I love that in hardcovers. And I saw this book, and I've never seen this book anywhere else. I've never seen anybody else talk about it, and so I saw it and saw that it was in really good condition, and I was like, I must buy this book. So thank you for everyone who's been enjoying my videos and giving them likes and comments and everything. It just means so much to me. Thank you so much for the support. Also, link to my Twitter, my Pinterest, my Goodreads, and my personal blog as well. Again, if you have any comments about any of the books you saw here, or general questions, or anything relating to the video or the channel, please feel free to leave a comment below. And remember guys, books are friends.